Hello, everybody. So we have the wonderful Aaron Case, and we're going to be talking all things soul empowering hypnosis. You know, he asked the best questions, and the only clue that I have about what we're going to be talking about today is he said that he wanted to talk about spiritual books. So, the past life regression, life between lives, those types of books, for example, by Dr. Michael Newton, Dr. Brian Weiss, Dolores Cannon, and so on and so forth. So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. And what's funny is in the back and forth when we were texting about this, I was like, I can talk to this to a degree because I don't really read that much. And he was like, you haven't read all these books? I'm like, no, I have not read all these books, but I guarantee that I've read enough of them and have enough to say about them that we can fill an hour. No problem. I have zero worries about that. And it'll be a miracle too if we actually keep it to an hour, which is, the schedule, but we have a tendency, it's probably me, to to go long. So Aaron, what do you want to know about these books?
Well, first, let's start with as far as who your favorite author, as far as the spiritual books is concerned. I would assume is Weiss.
Weiss all day, every day. I think he is one of the best human beings. So author, yes, for sure that, but also he's just a really, really good person. I think I've said this before on this discussion that people say never meet your heroes. You can meet Dr. Brian Weiss. It's okay. He's a good man. And he and I actually stayed in the same Airbnb. And so I got to see him off stage as well. And I mean, in a way, this is going to sound creepy, but let me give further details so you guys realize it's not creepy. But even when I was overhearing him have a private conversation, creepy. But the reason that's not creepy is because, again, we were in the same Airbnb. And this was the very first night of his, I think it's 7 days. So or maybe it's even 8 days. It's a long time that he is teaching. And he and Carol, his beautiful, lovely wife, they're such a nice family. They had just flown in from Florida. And you know what I mean? Like, he's had a long travel day. He's about to gear up for a very long week of presentations. And he very nicely on the stage said to us, hey, we're going to keep this first evening short because it started in the evening. You know how they do that sometimes where it's just the evening and then like they're gearing up for the full day to start the next day. And so he said, hey, we're just going to keep this evening short. We're not going to do a Q&A. Carol and I are a little bit tired, so we're just going to go home, get some rest, and then we'll just go, full on into it tomorrow. And totally understandable, right? Totally respectable. And he gets to the Airbnb. I get to the Airbnb. I am very respectful of people needing their sleep. I love sleep. I think it's a great thing to do. And so I'm not saying anything other than, hi to them. And I happen to be in the main area. This is why it's not creepy. I wasn't like with a glass listening to, I was just in the main area getting some tea, actually. And so while I'm getting my tea, I can overhear, and it's like part way down a hallway, but still very close by. Not the same room, but still very close by, so I can hear really easily. And so I'm getting my tea all together, and I hear another participant who for sure heard his request, but I'm sure she just could not rein in her excitement. And so, of course, she ended up talking to him, like long talking him about, it was something like she had gone on a trip to Japan, and had he been to Japan, and maybe there were past lives in Japan. And I was like, lady, you know where he lives. Like, he's going to be here tomorrow morning. Like, let the man get some sleep. And he, the entire time, was so polite, so friendly. I could not hear a single hint out of him that he was trying to hurry the conversation along. Like, it seemed like he was totally fine. Like, I was probably more annoyed. You know what? I was definitely more annoyed on his behalf than not just that it seemed that he probably just wasn't annoyed. You know what I mean? He probably just was like, this is my life. This is what's happening. Like, we're talking about Japan for at least 6-7 minutes.
I mean, he struck me as a person that just loved people and loved to be around people and talking no matter what,
Yeah,
and not
really,
in
really
a
good heart.
self-serving way. He was just that type of loving and giving person from
Yeah.
my perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And so I love that story because you just never know how people are when they're not in presentation mode. And I'm like, I accidentally got to overhear him very much not in presentation mode. And he was even more lovely than I could have ever expected. Like the fact that he wasn't even like gently hinting, like he really just let her go on about Japan for a while. Like, actually, this man is a saint. So, yeah, yeah. Like I did, not to be, this is going to be so obvious, like it's easy for people to figure out who I'm talking about, but I did a 7-week meditation retreat. I've only ever done one of those. It was only with one person. And I was allowed a 15-minute audience with that teacher. I'm like, I just signed up for something for 7 weeks. And what you guys are allotting to each of us, and there were only 14 of us in the entire world. They do this one time per year. Only 14 of us got into the program. So it's not like she was fielding 300 people. There were 14 of us. We were given 15 minutes each. And then she was late for my meeting, whatever, I don't care. She was on a phone call soliciting donations from someone else, which is fine. Money makes the world go round. And then she starts the meeting, and of course, like I'm just doing pleasantries, like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And she said she was on the call soliciting donations, and and she's like, "Got to keep the lights on." Um, and then I said like one other like pleasantry, whatever, and then you could see her get visibly annoyed, and she goes, "We only have 15 minutes, so what is it that you want to discuss?"
Wow.
Sorry, sorry. Yeah, very, very different.
Now I have to sit and figure out who this is out of
It's not
curiosity.
hard. It's not
But I don't
hard.
think it's that hard to figure it out.
I talk about it all the time. I don't think I've ever told that. Yeah, I have not told that story publicly. I probably won't get back to her. It's fine. And even if it does get back to her, she did it and it was not nice. So it's like I get it, but at the same time, like woman, like we are here for 7 weeks. Like, come on. So, anyway, so when it comes to spiritual hypnosis books, Brian Weiss, he's great, really good energy. And one of the things that I want to make sure that we talk about, and even if we talked about it before, I think that we should talk about it again because it's pretty powerful. And I think that people should keep something like this in mind, which is, have I told you the story about how I noticed that I had this strange pattern? It was very distinct, but I couldn't figure it out for a long time why it was happening. But I had this strange pattern when I was first becoming a hypnotherapist. So this is probably most of the year of 2015. And because I got certified by Brian in summer of 2014. So in 2015, the clients are starting to pick up. And I noticed this pattern of that there would be days or weeks with no client interest at all whatsoever, nothing. And then there would be days or weeks with what I call teaser clients. So these would be the clients that would reach out to have a session, but not actually schedule their session. Or if they even scheduled it, then they had to cancel it for some reason. So teaser clients. And then I would have these days or weeks where I had like client after client after client after client after client booking. And they were never intermingled. It was always either nothing, teasers, or the faucet is fully turned on. And so I thought, okay, there's a pattern here. Something is causing this. I have got to figure out what this is because whatever it is, I want to do more of the turn it on version of things, right? And so went through all of these. Like I remember talking to Charles about it, and bless his heart, because he's not weird like this, but he is pretty open-minded. Charles even said, "Do you think it could have anything to do with the cycles of the moon?" And I was like, thought about that. No, that's not it, but great suggestion. And so eventually what I figured out that it was is that if I wasn't reading any spiritual books, nothing, no clients. If I was reading Brian Weiss's books, teaser clients. If I was reading A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, lots of clients. Why, you may ask? Because that book, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, really shifted my energy. Like, very much brought me into a much more peaceful, loving place. And so I think it could have been anything. It could have been Winnie the Pooh. It could have been, you know what I mean? It could have been anything. It's just that that book in particular, and again, Brian Weiss is great. He's amazing. So it's not that his books are less than, it's just that it didn't shift my energy enough. I already knew all of those things. So if you're talking about past lives, if you're talking about soulmates, if you're talking about this or that, I already know all of those things. So it's not really going to shift my energy that much. Marianne Williamson, on the other hand, is talking about love and forgiveness and being so good at forgiving, you actually realize there was nothing to ever forgive in the first place. I mean, like, she gets into it really deep. And at least for me, deep for me at the time. And it really just changed like my whole vibration and frequency whenever I read that book. And so that was the thing that was the game changer for why clients were suddenly reaching out to me and following through with having their session. And it got to the point where sometimes I would be overwhelmed with how many clients, like once I figured it out, like I would be overwhelmed with how many clients I had. And so I would actually on purpose close the book, not open it for a while just to give myself a break. And I even played with it where I said to Charles, because I told him, I was like, I figured it out. It's this book. Like, if I read it, this happens. And I'd had my period where I was like, okay, like we're going on vacation. We're going on like a, 10-day vacation to the American Southwest, national parks that we hadn't visited yet. So I on purpose closed the book because I knew that I couldn't take clients for the next 2 weeks or so. But then when we were on the vacation, I was like, time to open it back up because I can start to book out clients for when I get back. Right. And so we were sitting in the car. I brought the book and I'm sitting next to him and I say, okay, time to get some more clients, and then open up the book. Not 30 minutes later, there is a voice message on my phone from a lady who was like, I want to book a session with you. And so it was really funny because you know how you'll get a transcription preview of what the message is going to say. And so I read it before I heard it. And so I was able to then say to him, I was like, oh, I have a voicemail, and like put it on speaker and then play it. And he was like, holy shit. I'm like, I know this book is no joke. So that's why I knew we would be able to fill an hour. I'm like, let's get into this shit because this shit's awesome, right? Like the ability to open up a book and be like, money, please. Like,
And
it's
that was
pretty
the time for
great.
love.
Yeah, A Return to Love.
A return to love, brother.
A Return to Love. And so, I mean, we might see book sales spike for Marianne Williamson's book today after this, but I would say for people who are looking for a result, and money is an easy way to gauge if something is working or not, because you can just see the results shift so quickly. Like, I think that the temperature on that can change very, very quickly, maybe more so than other things. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe actually like relationships can change just as quickly, or health can change just as quickly. It's just that was the thing that I was focusing on. So I saw that move like instantaneously a lot of times. So if people go out and buy that book and they read it and they're like, Courtney, this didn't do anything. Like, what are you talking about? Maybe that's not your book. Like, just like I said, the Brian Weiss books, they didn't move the needle that much in me because I was already aware of a lot of those things. And then if I opened up A Return to Love today, I don't know that it would move the needle for me because, again, I'm already so aware at this point of that one. If it seems like the one that moves the needle for me now is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. But it seems like it just moves it for one specific person. So like if I open up that book, one specific person will like sign up for my SEH certification training or buy a session, or you know what I mean? So it seems that that one book seems very directly tied to that one person. I don't have to read very much of the book. It's really just like a couple of pages and then like boom, like it's like just a direct line to that person. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting, and it's a process that would have never crossed my mind. Um, doesn't Marianne Williamson have a book that came out in the last year?
That would not surprise me. She's a pretty prolific writer.
Is that something that you would consider getting that might could make a difference for for your vibrations?
Oh, as far as maybe, right? Maybe. The one that I have owned but I've never finished, that I have actually out of my these the books probably gossip about me all the time where they're like, "Oh, great, she's pulled me off the shelf again." Rinse and repeat for the last 12 years, right? And so like these books follow me wherever I move, and so many of them I have not finished or even come close to finishing. And one of them is The Law of Divine Compensation by Marianne Williamson. So you would think but I'm really in my dispensathon and I'm really in the Eckhart phase. So I'm like, okay, little book, here we go again. You've been pulled. Let's see what happens.
Now, so well, I guess first, what are your five books connected to hypnosis? Your five favorite books connected to hypnosis, and then your five favorite spiritually oriented books.
We're going with five. Okay. So
I
five
mean, if
favorite
you
books. I'll just start. You know me. All you have to do is just get it started. Then we'll go. Okay. So top five. Obviously, Many Lives, Many Masters. Number one, all day, every day. It's the thing that gets the needle, or not the needle moving, but like the whole thing started. Many Lives, Many Masters. It's such a good book. It's also great for people who are new to this belief system, the possibilities of reincarnation, the possibilities of hypnotherapy, tapping into it, the possibilities of talking to your spirit guides, etc. It's a really, really good entry into that. Plus, it has wonderful messages for those of us who are already well versed in the work. And it's one of those books that when you read I want to say Messages from the Masters, but I think that's like the title of his second book, maybe. But when you go through those sections where they are the messages from the masters in Many Lives, Many Masters, it's good advice that it's nice to have it repeated back to you. And then again, Messages from the Masters might be his next book, but it might be Only Love is Real. That is the next book. And when I say the next book, I mean the next one that he released. And I can't remember. There's, okay. Actually, the important note, oh man, it might be Through Time into Healing. Either in the back, I think it's Through Time into Healing. I think in the back of that one, he actually gives you his script for taking people into hypnosis. So that's pretty cool that you can see it word for word. It's basically a progressive relaxation where he is taking you through relaxing every part of your body from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. You call in a protective energy. If you do it properly, it's going to take about 20 minutes to do it. So it's a long induction. And then what really I don't remember Messages from the Masters, unfortunately. I mean, it's literally right behind me. I could pick it up and look at it. Will I? Probably not. So I don't remember the details in that one, but I want to make sure I highlight Only Love is Real. Well, massive spoiler alert. If you guys are going to read Only Love is Real and you don't want the spoiler, I'm giving you fair warning right now. I will do the thing where I wave my hands when the when the spoiler is over, but we're starting the spoiler in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this one is really cool. Only Love is Real, because what happens in his sessions, I'm sure he's working with like a ton of clients, but this book happens to be about 2 clients, a guy and a girl. And they're going into past lives, and then he starts to notice that some of the details of their past lives are for sure overlapping in a way where he's like, I think these two know each other. Like, this is getting real specific, and I feel really confident that these two know each other. And he's so confident that he's like, what am I to do? I'm pretty sure it's unethical to tell them about this, but I also realized that, like, I'm the guy that knows that this is happening, and I could so easily reintroduce them, right? So he's like, how do I bridge this? Like, how do I not cross an ethical boundary, but I also try to facilitate this meeting? So he gets very clever, and he decides he's gonna work it so that he schedules their 2 sessions so they're back to back. So they have a chance to run into each other in the waiting room, right? He's like, okay, like, I figured it out. I'll have them bump into each other. And for whatever reason, that meeting, like that opportunity of them crossing paths, it doesn't click. Like whatever Brian is thinking is going to happen for them, like, it does not click. It doesn't happen. But within a few hours or days, it was not long after, both of them, and Brian's based in Miami, both of them end up at the Miami airport at the same time. And then the click for them happens.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So that one is very, why isn't there a movie made about this? Like, it's such a great story. And it's real. It's a real story. Like, it's unbelievable. So,
That's amazing.
oh, spoiler alert over. Unless, Aaron, did you have anything else to say about it?
No, that's good. That is amazing, though.
Yeah, spoiler alert is over.
So now, which book is that again?
Only Love is Real.
Only Love is Real.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to start with Many Lives Many Masters. Then we're going to go with Only Love is Real, because that story is so awesome. And then just 3 more Brian Weiss books in no particular order. He's my favorite.
So none of the Newton books?
They're interesting. They're pretty dense. I have not even read all of them. They're only 2, but they're so thick that I haven't managed to get through all of them. And they just don't have the same heart as Weiss's books. You can also tell that he is pretty leading to clients, and I don't care for that. And it's in a way that I especially don't care for, because he is a psychiatrist, right? Or at least a psychologist, but I think he's a psychiatrist. And so he's trying to, in his own scientific way, find patterns among these patients where he's trying to find out, well, what does it mean if your soul color is this? What does it mean if your soul color is that? What does it mean if your soul group does this? What does it mean if your soul contract says that? And so he's trying to find these patterns. But you can see in some of these, and he plays it straight, like he'll put word for word what is happening in these sessions. And when you're trained to do these things properly, and you have a more expansive belief system than this man, you can see it so easily where somebody will start to go into the direction of expanding beyond his belief system, and he will rein them in to put them back into the spot so that it fits what he thinks is right. And so, for example, this is a made up example. I know there is something very similar to this in the book, but I can't remember the exact details. But what I'm about to say is not far off. It's really, really close. So, for example, there was a lady, and she was connecting in with her soul group, and she saw her dog in the soul group. Now, I read something like that, and I'm like, yes. Like, I love animals. I think we're tragically disrespectful to animals. If we understood the animals were at least as advanced as we are, maybe we would treat them better. And so I'm seeing this lady like start to tune into, and my dog's here and he's in my soul group. And I'm like, yes, because I know that Newton says the animal souls do not incarnate into humans and vice versa, and they can't be in our soul group. They can be adjacent, but they're not actually going to be in the soul group because they're different species, which cracks me up because I'm like, these are souls. We're talking about an infinite, unlimited universe. Why would we think the souls have to compartmentalize? They might want to, they might usually do that, but they don't have to do anything, right? And so she's talking about this thing that's outside of his belief system that's very much in my belief system. I'm like, yes, get him. And then he's like, well, are you sure about that? You know what I mean? Like if she had said
Mhm.
something that wasn't his belief system, he would have just kept like going with it and asking appropriate questions. But a question such as, are you sure about that? That's a leading question. That person can tell they have just overstepped a line and they have been a bad little boy or girl and they are now to come back and color inside of the lines and not mess with his belief system. And so I'm like, how on earth could he get any new data that would be accurate if he is constantly corralling these people? And I'm not saying he's bad, I'm saying he's human. And we do shit like this all the time. I guarantee that if you put him on he's dead, but if you did back then put him on a lie detector test and you said, hey, are you asking leading questions? He would go, no, God, of course not. Like, what would be the point? That would tragically ruin all of my data that I've worked for decades to. I don't think that he would ever realize that going, like, are you sure? Is a leading question that just like totally wipes out all of the great information that that lady could have given him if he had just been respectful of what she was experiencing and let it progress the way that it could have and should have progressed. So I think he has a lot of great information that is really pinned in by his belief system. I don't love that, especially the animal stuff. So he's never going to make the top of my list because I'm bitter about that particular thing. Full transparency. I'm mad.
Okay. And I and I I've read. He has two books or three books.
He has 3 books. People only talk about 2 of them. The first one is Journey of Souls. The second one is Destiny of Souls. The third one
Okay.
it's like a guidebook for a hypnotherapist. And he even, oh, you know what? Maybe he would actually cop to being a leading practitioner, like asking leading questions practitioner, because he even mentions outright in the beginning of that guide for hypnotherapists. He he says that he prefers the more authoritative style of hypnotherapy. Now, again, is he translating that to mean he's asking leading questions? But for those who are not as well versed in this, what I mean and what he means when he says a more authoritative style of hypnosis is that instead of saying, like, okay, and whenever you're ready, do you think that we should go into the spirit realm, or your soul, does your soul think that we should go further into the spirit realm, or would it like to go into a past life, or would it like, he's like, no, this is happening next. It's the right way to do it. I've done it a million times. So this is what we're doing. So it's that type of authoritative. He doesn't say those words specifically, but that's the intention. I know what I'm doing. You are new to this patient. I am an old pro expert. I know exactly what works best. And so we're going to do it this way. And the induction is seriously like 45 minutes. Now, I know that maybe a couple of years ago, finally, some people in that organization, like everybody knew his stuff was wrong. Like everybody knew. I would even say, like, guys, like, we know that something is off here about the animals. And they go, we know, we're getting the same results as well, but we can't publish anything about that because it'll rock the boat. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, well, if people realize that he's wrong about the animal stuff, then they're going to start to question, well, is he wrong about all of it? And I'm like, yeah, understandable. He's not wrong about all of it, but we should tell people whenever we find out more. And they were like, no. So I'm annoyed about that.
And that's understandable. But I mean, even now, there's still a lot of people that feel that there's a division in where souls actually come through. There's a lot of people that still believe that. And
What do you mean division? What?
as far as feeling that animals don't have the same souls as humans,
I
just
think that
feeling
there's
that
just,
they're different.
yeah, I think there's a strange desire in human beings to be superior. And so I
That
think
makes
that's
sense.
one reason. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is that people just think that animals taste good and they are willing to decide that they're lesser than in some way, shape, or form. So, and it's like, guys, just like watch one video of a pig. Like, it's definitely as smart as a dog. Are we just going to pretend? Like, I get it. Bacon tastes good. Bacon was one of my favorite foods growing up. Like, I know it's delicious, but that is a sweet animal that for sure has feelings and thoughts. And we're just going to pretend, okay, fine. I mean, all right, whatever. Like, maybe you'll get it right in the next life. Sure. So,
And I think some of it comes from religious indoctrination too, because
what do they say about animals?
it's it's constantly pounded into people's heads that we're different than animals and we're above animals. And religious indoctrination pretty much says that animals don't have souls, and that's the difference between us and them.
Why do you think
Is that
religion would care so much about that? Like, what's their skin in the game about that?
it's part of separating the truth out from, well, one, it's the divinity. It's, in my opinion, it's them separating from the truth of spirituality, but also again putting man above what an animal is. And even for, as far as Christian doctrine is concerned, the Christian doctrine basically says that God created Adam and that God created Eve and basically blew the breath of life into each of them, which some Christians would equate that with the soul being placed into Adam and Eve at their creation. Animals were created, but not with the breath of God. Animals, according to, and this is according to the Bible, animals were created and they were just made. God brought every animal to Adam for Adam to name. So, according to that doctrine, they wouldn't have souls because of how they were created versus how men were created or how humans were created.
I really think, I mean, does this just come down to that people think they taste good, so they're just coming up with a reason to I'm
I
being
mean,
dead serious, like, is it really just that simple? Like, they think that they
I
need them
don't,
to survive and they're not allowed to eat their kids, so you know what I
I
mean?
don't. That could be a factor, but I also, I just think overall, for what's in the Bible, it's taught that man has dominion over everything.
So
So
it is
if,
about being superior.
yeah, I guess so.
Ugh.
Yeah, it is
People
superior,
are so
but
boring. It's such a boring stance.
uh, but it's, if you have that being taught at such an extensive rate, with so many people coming through or being affected by Abrahamic religions, it's kind of hard for that not to spill over, and it definitely spills over. And we
Yeah, I
got some
get it.
comments here.
Yeah. I'll look at it in just a second. Feel free to look at it now. I get it. I guess I just don't understand. Like, I get it, but I also don't understand where I'm just like, okay, I get that this is an old belief system and that it's very convenient to believe that belief system because animals are delicious. And let's go beyond delicious. Let's go, you know, how I like to put everything through the lens of run everything through the lens of evolution. So it's beyond delicious. Like animals are survival if you want to get not anymore, but in the past, right? So we associate this with, well, one of us has got to go. And so it needs to be you, right? Sorry, animal. You're too delicious. I'm too hungry. Um, so I understand people coming from that perspective. I guess I just don't understand why people can't just go, yeah, like I'm going to evolve my perspective and understand that they are sentient. I'm going to evolve my perspective and understand that they can incarnate as humans, etc. And I'm just going to own it that I want to eat them too. Like it's so strange to me that people can't have an and about it, that they have to just go ahead and keep saying that animals are lesser than in a wide variety of ways just to make themselves feel better. I'm like, if you're lying to yourself about animals, I don't think you feel that good in the first place.
Well, let's also just say, I don't think there's animals in heaven.
You don't, or Christians don't.
Well, I don't believe in heaven, so
I know. I was about to
we're not
say,
talking
like,
about
Aaron,
me.
this feels like a trick sentence.
But no, I don't think, according to Christian doctrine, and I could be wrong, but my understanding, there's no animals in heaven.
Well,
So
there was a
it
great
all fits
movie
together.
that came out in the 80s or 90s called All Dogs Go to Heaven, and I'm going to decide that that's right. Oh, weird, like dark fact. I feel like we talked about this. I don't know if I just have dreams about this or if we really are repeating some of our conversations. Have I mentioned like the like sad dark fact about that movie?
Go on and tell the story. I think I've heard this before, but I don't think I heard it from you. But I don't
Okay.
recall what it was, but it was interesting.
So Burt Reynolds is the guy who plays the voice of the dog. Like even just like hearing the word, the way that she says Charlie, like, oh man. Okay. I'm about to be oral cancer. You know, we like to cry. Okay. Hold us together, I think. Okay. So Burt Reynolds voices the main dog character, Charlie. There is a real little girl. Like this isn't like an adult woman who just sounds like a little girl. This is a real little girl who voices the little girl. And the real little girl, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. Her dad murdered her. Like when production was happening. Like she had done all of her
Oh,
lines.
wow.
I know. And she's like, 8, 9, 10. She's little. And she'd done all of her lines. And you know how they reshoot some things when production is almost done, but they realize like a couple of things are still a little bit off, so they're going to reshoot some stuff. Her lines were already done. She was good. They called Burt Reynolds in to redo some of his lines. And like she was already dead, and he knew that. And so some of that stuff that he's saying, like as Charlie, is him talking to her, and he knows that like she's dead. Like, can you imagine like having to talk to this little
Wow.
girl and like she's gone? Yeah. So that movie is actually even better than people realize. Yeah. And like when he says goodbye to her, like Burt Reynolds is redoing that line. He knows that she's gone.
I have to
Yeah.
watch that movie again. That was
Yeah.
so long ago. I don't remember
I
a
know.
lot of it, but I have to watch that again.
So that's really good. That's really powerful. And I am team All Dogs Go to Heaven, both the
It's
movie
well,
and the concept.
I remember there were some Christian folks that didn't like that title.
People are so weird. Like they limit themselves so deeply where I'm just like, the world is such a beautiful, magical place. And like, why would you cut yourself off from, I mean, again, the telepathic squirrel told me how to get to the bathroom. I really needed to know where that bathroom was. That squirrel did me a solid. Like if I had this boring brain that didn't bother to ask, I'm not saying I would have peed myself, but would have felt like it could have. I really had to pee. So that squirrel like really helped me out. So it's like, why are people cutting themselves off from this magical world? And like it's not like I was born like with some special gift. I just think animals are cool. Anybody can think animals are cool. This is not that outside of the box. So anyways, so yeah, the Michael Newton books I take exception to because of the animal stuff. And then also there are a couple other areas where he really gets it wrong, which is that we don't have to be in the same soul group every time. That's for sure. I do think we're all born, or not all, but I do think we have an original soul group, but we don't have to stay there. And then the other thing is that you don't have to be the same color as your soul group because maybe you've got a few different souls from other original soul groups that have merged into a temporary soul group, but it's a soul group nonetheless. So, do you want me to tell you how I found out about that, just for people who maybe like have never heard
Yeah,
this?
please, please.
Okay, so when I was getting LBL certified, I had to do 6 practice sessions, like do the full transcription and like submit them, get my certification. After having done that, I was going straight from my LBL certification training into uh, flying to Ireland to do my level 2 QHHT. I had 6 days in between the two. I wanted to get certified. You have to wait for 2 years of being a professional hypnotherapist before you can even apply to become an LBL practitioner. I really wanted to be in that directory. I wanted to be able to do this professionally. So I was like, I don't want to wait after I'm like in Ireland for a couple of weeks, come back, then do my certification. I just want to get this done. So basically, I just said to 6 people that I knew really well, I was like, can I please practice on you? Even if you're not into hypnosis, can I please practice on you because I need to get this done? And so I had 6 different people, and they were like, yep, let's do it. 3 of the 6 saw me in their soul group. Those 3 people do not really know each other. Like they know of each other, but they don't really know each other. And none of them were in each other's soul group. And I was a different color in each of the soul groups. And what's funny is, so Charles was one of the people that saw me. I was a loving red in his soul group, and he saw a bunch of different colors in his. My best friend Bob, who's like a father to me, he saw me as well. I was a pure white in his soul group, and he saw a bunch of other souls in different colors as well. Then there's Kevin. And Kevin is the one who got me kickstarted on this LBL journey. And you know who told Kevin about LBL? Lisa. So it's like Lisa's patient zero. She's like magician zero. Like so much stuff starts with Lisa. Like, 2 decades ago. And so Kevin, who I obviously don't know as well as my husband or as well as my best friend, who I say is like a father to me, but I know him well, love him dearly. Kevin sees me in his soul group, and we're all purple. So we're all the same. We're all purple. And even though I know him the least well of the 3, that one felt like the OG. Like that's the original group. And I'm not saying I'm not in Bob's. I'm not saying I'm not in Charles. I'm saying I do think that the one that Kevin saw is the original group. And that's actually home base. But if you've been doing this long enough, you eventually go, it's kind of like a kid where it's like, okay, I've been doing this whole stay at home with my parents thing for 18 years. Maybe it's time to go to college. Maybe it's time to start adulthood. You know what I mean? You branch out at some point. And so I think souls do that as well. And so I just have stuff to do. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to team up with Bob and this soul group to get X done. I'm going to team up with Charles in this soul group and get Y done. And then we've got Kevin over here, original group. We're also getting, A done. And I believe in concurrent lifetimes. I think that the soul can do multiple things at once. Let's also not forget time's not real. Everything is happening all at once. So kind of everything is concurrent souls. There's no past, present, future, etc. So like I think it's totally plausible that my soul could be busy doing multiple things. Just like there are people who are good at multitasking. I think some souls are like, yeah, I'll do. Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that too. That's good. So yeah, that's how I
Uh,
learned about the soul thing.
Also, what do you think about this? The fact that if a soul's experience in coming back through all of these lifetimes is to gain knowledge and to basically grow towards everything that's part of the soul's journey. If
Mm-hmm.
the entire soul group always incarnated together, they're never learning anything different. They're all learning at the exact same level.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why that concept doesn't make any sense because you learn so much more when you're intermingling with so many others. Now, do
There's
I feel
learning
that you
more. There's
will?
also there's also the helping more, right? Like if you just got the same crew together all the time and you're all kind of good at the same stuff, like you can actually help a lot more if you start to diversify and work in other teams and departments and yeah.
And see, I'm going to now that I have my certification, I'm going to reread these books with a different mindset. And it
Mhm.
was when I read Newton's books, that was very early on in my journey, and there was a lot that I did not know at the time when I read those. I was interested in it, but I didn't have a understanding of a lot. And now uh, you've actually mentioned some things that I hadn't. I remember the dog thing, and I thought it was a bit strange, but I was still on I was still coming to terms with the concept of the fact that a, a soul's a soul. So it didn't throw me off at all from saying, okay, this guy is just totally off, totally wrong. But I did question it, but I was still in that space.
Yeah,
Um,
if you read it, you're definitely gonna read it before I do. I'm probably never gonna read them again, so tell me, catch me up to speed. And then I wanna say good things about his books really quickly. Just because he got that one thing wrong doesn't mean he got everything wrong. I think that's where, like, the Newton Institute, I'm like, "Come on, guys, have some confidence." Like, he really crushed it. Like, he did a great job with a lot of things, and
mhm.
here's my evidence for that. Where, again, because so these books are dense and they're long, and we were supposed to read both of them leading up to the training. Of course, I was like, "Oh, I have plenty of time." Lies. Procrastinators lie to themselves so hard, and they fall for it every time. And so I'm like, "Oh, I'll have time. Oh, I'll have time." I'm like, "Why did I think what? What?" Anyway, I basically read almost none of the books before I got to that training, and still, I wanted to get the certification. So I'd really read almost none of the books. Charles was having a session. He had definitely read none of the books. The reason I say that is that people who are skeptical, and I say that in the unhealthy sense of the word skeptical, where they just are like naysayers and they're closed minded. But people, so yeah, I'm not going to say skeptical. I'm just going to say closed minded. People who are closed minded, they will do mental gymnastics to try to figure out like how something is bullshit that you're saying. Okay. And so I've had people say, well, those books were in the house. So maybe Charles read the books. Charles did not read those books. That is just ridiculous. Anyway, so Charles is having a session and he goes into 4 areas of the spirit realm and he is describing them in great detail. And I haven't been exposed to this stuff because I didn't read the books. And the reason that I say all this is because we established long ago that telepathy is real. So if somebody were to say, well, Courtney, is there any chance that telepathically he picked up on something that you were aware of? And so he was regurgitating that information. I would go, you know what? Maybe. No, not with this. I was a naughty student. I did not read those books. He was getting nothing from me. He was really tuning in to these areas of the universe. And so when his session was over, I was like, man, that was really detailed. Like what he was getting. I went to the index and I started to find like descriptions of like, keywords like hell realm, where he visited a hell realm. And I'm like, is there a hell realm? They didn't mention any of that in class. You know what I mean? And so sure enough, in the index, there's a hell realm. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, well, sure enough, he tapped into 4 of those: the library, um, the next life viewing station, and the council. Got him so right. Like the council being like wavy energy lines, like light line. I'm like, I think he said that they looked like seaweed, like the way that he was
Mhm.
describing them. So anyway, so that to me says, all right, Newton was really, really onto something, but he had his blind spots about a couple of things, um, which is unfortunate. And I started to say this a minute ago and distracted myself. I think within the last couple of years that the institute, I'm not on the inside of it anymore. I don't know, but word on the street is that they started to finally do something about how outdated the information is, the technique is, because it is very authoritative. Where there used to be a line in the induction that said, and something like without censorship. Yeah, without censorship, you will answer my questions and tell me like what I need to know.
Mhm.
Like it's really aggressive. And I did say that one time to a client that wasn't of the six. This is like a real client. It was like a stranger to me. And she was like the first person that got an LBL session after I was certified. And so she was the first like stranger that I said that sentence to. And she laughed when we got to that part. And then I laughed too because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, come on. And so I just never said it again. I was like, I am just going to start editing some of this stuff out because this is ridiculous. I do not want this coming out of my mouth. I don't think that's helpful. And so I just started to go rogue as I am known to do and changed the script quite a bit and still got like great sessions without clients laughing at me during the session. So he really did nail it, and I think they have tried. The institute has tried to take corrective measures to address some of those things. I don't know which things. I don't know if it's all the things, but at least some of the things, particularly the induction.
And it's good that they're gonna take that action because,
Mm-hmm.
as we've talked about many times, things change, knowledge changes, and with uh, with looking at things and saying this can never change, this is going to be how it is. It's not realistic. One plus
Yeah.
one is going to be one. I mean, going to be two. That's not going to change. But for something along this line, there's always going to be changes that are going to happen as more knowledge comes along. That's just the
Mm-hmm.
reality. Even for and the part that makes it odd to look at, if you look at any type of book dealing with the mind or with psychology, those things change over time as far as what's taught, and they're updated. Why would they think that something along this line would not get updated
Yeah.
when everything else in that arena changes?
Yeah, and not to just be a series of me saying I don't like this, I don't like that. I really feel like psychology does not know what they're doing. Like yeah,
Mm,
I don't think they're really hitting the nail on the head with a lot of what they do.
I I would agree.
So, I mean, all you have to do is just look at the statistical results of like how counseling sessions go. And it's really just having like a friend that you can complain at over and over again about the same thing. And the friend is okay with you just repeating yourself ad nauseum. Like they don't
True.
mind. Yeah. So,
And also the weakness of dealing with spiritual issues in that realm. It's
well, if
just
they dealt with spiritual issues, they might actually have some positive results and then their paycheck goes
mhm,
away. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing your job really well, like you're supposed to graduate. Not that people like I love hypnotherapy because it can clear you of so many things, but then can also get you ready for your next level. So yes, you want to have another session because you're a different person and you're ready to have another session at your next level. So hypnotherapy is really good in that regard because it evolves along with you. Um, but in theory, when it comes to therapy, like you should eventually just like feel happy, right? Like, isn't that the goal to eventually feel so
mhm.
happy that you're like, I'm good? But it doesn't seem to happen, and nobody seems to question that.
And from the end from the patient end, I also know people that are patients going to therapy just because they're constantly wanting to go to therapy.
They
And
like
I know a
the
couple people that
communication.
actually exactly being able to express. And I know some people that say, okay, I'm going to go to a therapist, but I'm only going to go to this therapist for a certain period of time because it changes our relationship if I'm going to a therapist for too long.
The therapists get really needy in a weird way. Like I remember, and by the way, anytime I ever say anything, like you know how I have Brian on a pedestal, Brian Weiss on a pedestal, and he has earned his place there. Same thing with Jamie. If I ever talk about therapists, I do not mean Jamie. My original hypnotherapist, she is different. Like she is what therapists are supposed to be. Hence her going ahead and getting trained in past life regression. She will actually help people in a wide variety of ways, and I've never seen her ever, ever, ever do anything that like made me go, ugh. Ooh, like she's just always like so. I don't know. Let's go ahead and use the word perfect. I'm sure she's not perfect, but she's pretty flipping great. Um, And so when I say this, I am not talking about Jamie. I'm talking about somebody different. Like I've never been to a therapist that I thought was any good other than her. And like I remember once I took myself to a therapist in college because I was like, I think I'm too angry. Like I'm pretty sure the level of anger that I have is not normal. Like this is not healthy. I probably should go see a therapist. And so sent myself to the therapist and the whole time she just wanted to talk to me about majoring in psychology and like different schools that I should go to, and it was just like she wanted to talk to a buddy, and it took me a while to figure that out, and I was like, oh, I think I wasn't like crazy enough, you know what I mean? But she was probably relieved that I was fairly normal, and she was like, oh god, I can take an hour off. This is like like a little miniature vacation talking to this one. I was like, I don't even know like what, like I should have gone to the school advisor if I wanted college advice. Like what did I just experience for the last hour? What was that? So that was one experience. And then another one, she actually did give me an exercise that was really, really, really helpful. So I want to make sure that I give her credit for that. I can tell you about it later. It's about psychogenic pain, which is probably helpful for people. So I'll talk about that next. But I have a pattern of ending relationships. Like I don't like my parents, so I'm like, let's just end that. You know what I mean? Like other people can't imagine. I'm like, why? Like you can just not talk to them again. Like that's an option, right? And people are like, no. I'm like, okay. So anyway, this therapist, she noticed that I had a pattern of ending relationships and like in a really weird way. She was like, so how do you think you might end this relationship? I'm just like, what? In my head, I hope I didn't like express it. In my head I was like, what the fuck? Like what? Like what? And so I just said to her, I was like, because I am honest, I was like, oh, I'll just be able to end it whenever I move from Hawaii. What the fuck? What kind of question? I don't to this day I'm like, can't you just be insecure on your own time? Why am I having to feel? I don't understand this. And then one time, like I told her that I was feeling a little bad about myself because I had binged on uh, tortilla chips and salsa. And she's like, yeah, but that's not bad. That's good for you. And I was like, do you know any? Again, this was all internal. I didn't say it out loud. But I was like, do you know anything about nutrition? Like, of course, chips and salsa are not good for you. Like, what? And so I was just like, no, they're pretty unhealthy for you. Like that's a empty calorie. Like that's a really high carb, and like and it's really high sodium, and like that's actually not good for you. She Googled it during. I'm like, Google this shit on your own time. I pre-Googled before I met you. I am not wasting your time with Googling nutritional facts. So like this is the shit that therapists are bringing to the table. College advice and nutritional Googles. I'm like, are you shit? And their insecurity. And you don't get into psychology for no reason. I get that I'm in psychology as a hypnotherapist, but pretty much anybody in psychology didn't end up there by accident. So like they're working through some shit. There's a reason they're interested in that field. So the insecurity can run pretty rampant. And again, I say all of this with the exception of Jamie. Jamie is like, she is what you want a therapist to be, and a hypnotherapist especially to be. But then when it comes to the psychogenic pain, this might be helpful for people. The one that was like really insecure and nutritionally ignorant. She did give me a really good exercise. So when I went to her, God, I also heard her screaming at another, sorry. I just think people are so, I'm like, hold your shit together, people. Hold your shit together. You have a house. Do your crazy shit in your house. Stop bringing your crazy shit out into public. Anyway, and also to like try to not be crazy in the house. But I digress. I heard her scream at another therapist on the phone while I was in the waiting room, and I'm like, why is this my life? Like, I've come to you for help. Why am I having to hear you yell at people on the phone? Anyway, she gave me a good exercise. Here's the good exercise. I, at the time, was having severe kidney pain, particularly almost never in the left, almost exclusively in the right. And it was scaring me. I was like, this is not good. I need this organ. I know you have one to go, but like, I would like to keep both of them. And it was to the point where I would even have blood in my urine sometimes. That was super rare, but it did happen. I was like, okay, something's going on with me. I went to 8 or 9, and this is obviously before I knew anything about hypnotherapy. If I'd known about hypnotherapy, like, could have fixed it in one session, but I did the traditional medicine route because I didn't know any better. And so I went to 8 or 9 experts where I was like, can somebody check my kidneys? And okay, it's not the kidneys. You do the thing where you drink the dye and then they like run you through an MRI or CAT scan or whatever it is. Whatever is the one where you have like metal in you for a little bit. Then like I went to even a gynecologist. I was like, okay, the gynecologist is at least like kidney adjacent because the kidney doctors, I'm forgetting the name of that type of doctor. Anyway, the point is I did 8 or 9 experts, doctors, and there was nothing physically wrong with me. They couldn't find anything. And I even kept saying to all of them, I was like, I am open to this being psychological. The reason I was open to that was because my brother, he was in medical school at the time, and there's nothing scarier than a medical student because they know every scary thing. It's on the front of their brain, like we're all about to die. It's like people joke about don't Google your symptoms in WebMD. Don't talk to a medical student either. They are just as terrifying. And so I'm talking to my brother about this kidney thing, and then he said something, I can't remember what, that was like so scary. I literally felt my left kidney, the good one, hurt. Like in that moment, I felt it hurt because I was so scared. And I was like, oh, okay. That was definitely an emotional pain that manifested as a physical pain in that exact organ, in the one that I would be scared to lose, right? Like the good one. Because if you're down 2, you're real fucked. And so I was like, okay, for sure there can be a psychological component. I just witnessed my left one do it. Why would we discount that the right one could be doing it this whole time too? So I say to the doctors over and over again, this could be psychological. This could be psychological. This could be psychological. One of them finally heard me when I said it. And she said, well, there is a therapist, my nutritionally ignorant cuckoo bananas therapist. There is a therapist who's really good with psychogenic pain. And psychogenic pain just means pain that is derived mentally, like you've made it up. Not that it isn't real. You feel it, but you created it with your mind. So it's like placebo effect for pain. Anyway, so the exercise that the therapist gave me, which she said, I want you, and anybody who has pain, do this just to see what happens. So she said to me, I want you to create a spreadsheet and I want you to document the following. Set a timer on your phone. And I can't remember what the increment was, but it was like 3 times a day, 10 times a day, whatever it was. But she was like, set a timer on your phone to go off X number of times per day. When the timer goes off, pay attention to how your kidney is feeling, then document it on the spreadsheet. And then I want you to bring that spreadsheet to me and we'll look at it together. I'm like, okay, will do. So it's about a week in between therapy sessions. I've been doing this homework for like 3 days. I end up going to my meditation center, and there's another psychologist at that meditation center that I befriended. And I say to her, I was like, yeah, like I'm kind of pissed about this exercise because every single time my alarm goes off, I'm not in pain. And so according to the spreadsheet, I look like a crazy person because it's just like, no pain, no pain, no pain, no pain, no pain. And then my psychologist friend, she goes, that's the entire point of that exercise, is to show you that you are not in the amount of pain or the frequency of pain that you think that you're in. And I was like, really? She goes, yeah, my pain went away. It's done. That one conversation where I found out that like I was bullshitting myself about the amount of pain I was in, then it was like whoever had been tricking me that whole time whoever within me who had been tricking me that whole time just waved the white flag and was like, jig's up. She's on to us. No point in hurting that kidney anymore. Never hurt again. Isn't that crazy?
That is.
Isn't Courtney crazy? Yes. I know. So people who are in pain, set your alarm, see how it's going. There's probably some sort of psychological component to it, even if your pain's real. Like, let's say that you get hit with a hammer, right? Is that pain real? Sure. Can stress about the pain actually exacerbate it? Yes. Like, I can't tell you the number of times that I've been injured. And I'm just like, okay, we're just not going to react to that because I think the reaction actually strengthens the bad thing. And if I just give a neutral reaction or actually give a loving reaction, like I had one time where I burned my thumb and I know if I'm going to blister or not if my skin gets shiny. If it doesn't get shiny, I'm not going to blister. If it gets shiny, a blister is coming. It got shiny, but I'm weird now. I've been doing a lot of hypnosis. I believe in a lot of magical shit. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go magical on this and see what happens. And so I see that it's shiny. I'm like, okay, I see you. And I give it a kiss. I'm like, you're okay. Everything is fine. No worries. And I don't think about it anymore. No blister.
That makes
I
sense.
think it worked. I think there's something about love. Like if stress can make things worse, I think that peace, joy, happiness, love can make things better. It just makes sense.
It definitely does. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's always looked at from the negative aspects and not enough from the favorable aspect of a situation like that and just for healing overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked last week about talking to your body. And that's a perfect example right there of how that works and how that is a very effective method.
Mm-hmm. Okay, shall we look at the comments? Even though we're 6 minutes
Yeah.
late. And I do
And,
have to pee soon. I think we're not going to run that late today because my bladder has its own agenda.
and J Manuel and Josh
And God,
Bosch, thank you.
yeah. Okay, so God says, this is why I wake up mad at these people too. Yeah, it is. There is something, and I would love to know what the universe is doing. Like I always wonder why, and I'm not saying that any of these people are bad. I just think that, they're not perfect and sometimes they're ill-informed and sometimes they end up spreading misinformation. Again, I don't think that they're bad, but I do think that that is what's happening. And so I do wonder with the universe, like what is the reason that something that is misinformed gets a large platform? You know what I mean?
Uh, Ultimately, the more confusion, the better for those that don't want to see growth. The more confusion that happens.
But I'm going big picture universe. And so the answer that I'm getting an answer. And I'm probably getting the answer just based on like the stage of life that I'm in. I don't know that it's the answer. I think it's the answer that makes sense to me right now. Which is that the universe allows for creation. And sometimes there are people who have misinformation that are really good manifestors and really good creators. And they have the ability to perpetuate, to get their platforms larger because they want to create a larger platform. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much about the universe. It's more about that person's ability to create what they want their existence to look like. And if they want to have a big platform and they happen to also be sharing underthought or misinformed things. Again, I'm not saying that these people are bad, the ones that we've been talking about today. I just think that they're a little bit misguided. Now, of course, when it comes to like people who are just flat out taking advantage of others. Like, and I'm not talking about hypnotherapy at all. I'm talking about like other areas of the world that they probably are also really good creators and manifestors. They're just like manifesting the shit out of something that's like not good for humanity. So I do wonder if the universe is just like, okay, well, that person is creating the shit out of something bad. All right. And the universe is like, so is somebody good going to create the shit out of something to like balance it? Because we'd love for you to do that, but you guys have to do it. Again, this is coming from, I'm still in my dispensathon. So everything right now is through the lens of like create your own reality. Okay. Then God says book writers. Yeah, there's a lot of propaganda. Again, sometimes I feel like again, I think Newton just had a blind spot for the animals thing. I think he would pass a lie detector test. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. It was just his belief system. I'm sure I have my blind spots for plenty of things too. Okay, so then Jamie Allen says book writers are trying to point you in their direction, indoctrination. Yeah. Okay. Now we're talking about religion being propaganda. Yeah. And then also, because I spent so much time at that Buddhist meditation retreat, Buddhists do the exact same thing. Like they also, I think they speak even more. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong because I just haven't spent that much time in Christian environments as an adult. And I've logged way more hours in Buddhist environments as an adult as opposed to Christian. But
Lucky
in those
you.
Buddhist, huh?
I said, lucky you.
Well, here's the thing though. You want to know what's also populating Buddhism? People.
True,
So
true.
it's the same shit. It's a different outfit. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, so they don't have hair and they wear robes. They're still just saying the same shit, which is, we know the way. Our way is better. We're going to make a bunch of weird rules. Even though our way is so great, we have to make a bunch of weird rules to try to protect it. I told you about like you can't wear loud prints, like prints on your clothing because it will disturb the meditators. And I'm like, how are these people functioning in the real world? And a lot of them are not, which is why they become life monastics. Like they just separate themselves from the real world. And then when the real world dares come into their space, they're like, ah, plaid. You know what I mean? So, so same thing with animals when it comes to Buddhism. And they are so overt about it because now they're talking about reincarnation and how it's so lucky to be reincarnated as a human. Now they do think that there can be interspecies incarnation because they think being incarnated as an animal is a punishment. And I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? Like being human is pretty hard. Like what? Like I can tell you between me and Pip, my cat, it's not me that's living the easier existence. Like that cat has a really good life. I was thinking earlier today that it must be so strange to have treats in a drawer that he doesn't have access to, and he has to walk up to it and wait for me to open the treats. And then he does want more treats, but I still close the door because, you know, all good things in moderation. And it's got to be so weird to know that there's just this like treasure chest of minnows and shrimp and, you know, just all of these things in this thing. And it just shuts right in front of him. That's gotta feel really weird. So he doesn't have a perfect life, but it's pretty good. Anyway, so Buddhists are like, it's a punishment to be. I'm like, no, I think that some animals actually have it pretty great, and some humans have it pretty rough. And when I come back, I would let me be a ferret. Being a ferret is pretty awesome. And then even like this one guy, we went on a hike and there was a waterfall and there were these gnats swarming around this waterfall. And he said something about, yeah, we're so lucky that we're born as humans rather than being born into something like a gnat. And then I said to him, I was like, we just hiked for an hour to get to that waterfall, to hang out there for 5 minutes. Not to mention, this was also in Nova Scotia in Canada, not to mention that we had to fly from the United States. We had to drive 6 hours. Then we had to hike in. We had to pay like a ton of money to even get here. And we're only going to get to be here for like 5 minutes. And that gnat is born at that waterfall. I don't know how long a gnat's life is, but let's go with 2 weeks. And it gets to just hang out by a pristine waterfall doing whatever it wants for its entire life. And then it dies. Team Gnat, like that sounds amazing. So I don't get it why people are like, it's such a punishment. Are you paying attention?
I agree with you.
It's pretty great, actually, for some of them. Yeah, for some of them. Okay.
But that's also, isn't that
Yeah, most
also
people
just
don't
them putting being human above being an animal?
of course. Yeah, Buddhists are very hierarchical about a lot of things, including the animal stuff, maybe especially the animal stuff. Like I remember when I found out that Buddhists believe that animals, like they seem to think of animals better than a lot of other belief systems. I was like, yay! Like I finally found people who are going to be vegetarian and vegan. Like this is so great. Nope, they're not. They eat meat all the time. Like even the Dalai Lama, I think, has fish.
Really?
Yeah, he says he has it for his health. I looked it up. Nothing is sacred. Okay. Amadeus 3. What does that mean? Goth always brings like the most outside of the box information. Yeah. Amadeus is in Mozart?
Please
What
share.
does that mean, Goth? Yeah, because I actually, okay, Goth, this is very interesting. And Goth, I figured out why I'm hearing Levitating by Dua Lipa so much on the radio. She is performing a concert here in Seattle sometime this summer. And so they'll do that sometimes where Goth will understand this reference. Sorry to everybody else, but he referenced it one day. I had just heard the song for the first time in like years, like the day before. And now I'm hearing it all the time. I'm like, why am I hearing it so much? She's performing a concert. So got some clues on that. Anyway, but God bring up another thing that was very interesting. There's some moments in my life that have had much stronger energy than other moments. And when I was in Vienna, Austria, that was one of those times. Like I feel like I was out of my body for a few seconds. Like I was walking and then I felt like all of my energy leave for like a couple of seconds. And I was like, stay upright, Courtney. Like stay upright. Cause like it was just, why? I think some I don't know why that past life wanted to come through so badly because I probably had plenty of past lives and plenty of places. I almost never had dreams about spiritual stuff. But when I was in Vienna, I had that strange, like my body kind of just, or my soul leaving my body for like a couple of seconds, but I stayed animated. It was fine. I stayed thinking it was fine. You know what I mean? But then I also had a dream, which we'll get into in just a second, about a past life there. But then also to tie it into the Amadeus thing, when I was in his house, Mozart's house, very strong energy, like very palpable energy in that house. So that was really cool. Not bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't even necessarily good. It was just strong. Like you just feel like a lot of energy there. Do you want to hear about the dream?
Sure.
About me being a past life Nazi?
Sure.
Okay. I have had at least 4. I feel like there's another one that I remembered, but I'm blanking on what it was, but at least 4 lifetimes during World War II, which is interesting. Just as far as like, I wonder if some souls were like, shit's really going down on Earth. Like, let's incarnate a bunch of different ways as much as we can. And so we'll do concurrent lifetimes to have like more boots on the ground, no pun intended. And so I was a past life Nazi. We'll get to that one in a second. So that's one. I was a World War II battlefield nurse in England That's two. That was the first past life I ever saw, sort of. First one they really talk about much. Then I was Doug. Doug, it's the only one I know the name of. Doug was a United States soldier, and he was in the tanks. And then there was what I call the 1920s farm lifetime, but I was just an adolescent in the 20s. So, and I lived until my 60s. So obviously I was an adult male, but in the United States as a farmer during that. I didn't see any action in that lifetime. And that one's the one where I think I had like the hardest thing happen to me, which is interesting because it was not the war lifetime. Okay. Past life, Nazi. I'm actually like this really cute, young, like 20 something blonde woman in Austria. So when I say I'm a Nazi, I'm not like a guy with a gun. And in this dream, let me also say this. There's silver linings to everything, right? And I believe that I am so hyper aware of and sensitive to propaganda in this lifetime as Courtney because of that past life as this Nazi female. Because I've explored this past life since then to figure out like, why on earth would I be a Nazi? Like why would you do that, right? Either you're a bad person or a dumb person. Like, why would you do that, right? So in this case, dumb, but like ignorant, just ignorant, not unintelligent, just ignorant. So if you are a good person who believes authority and you're not very close to the atrocities, because when I went into this past life and investigated it further, she was saying I was on the other side of the mountains. Like, I really didn't know. I'm like, okay, understandable. And I looked it up. Like, there is a mountain range where you're still on the boundaries border of Austria, but you're on the opposite side of where like all these things are happening in, you know, Germany, Poland, etc. And she was like, I just didn't know. And I believe the propaganda. I thought that like there were things that were happening that were for the good of Germany and Austria. And I wanted there to be good things for Germany and Austria. I'm like, I get it. I get it. People fall for propaganda all the time, especially if it's sugar coated where like we're doing something good, but they're actually doing something awful. Like, I get it. So that was from a hypnosis session where I realized that. Now the dream, all that was happening in the dream that spontaneously happened while I was in Vienna it was so vivid too. It was nearing the end of the war. And if you are from Germany and Austria and you are affluent, even if you're affluent, if your country is losing a long standing war, your resources are depleting, right? And so it's definitely from an affluent group, and the resources have definitely been depleting. Everything's still okay, but tight. And so somebody had the idea to do a potluck. And so what we did is we decided to have like a nice dinner. Like, we all got dressed up, makeup, hair, like dressy outfits, and did a potluck and like just made it like classy and nice as though it was from the times before. And I remember just feeling like so relieved to have that dinner and to have that night where I was like, okay, like things feel normal again. I know it's just for one night, but like things feel normal again, which is really, really nice. And it's a huge relief to just like have these few hours of normalcy back. And I get that that's nothing compared to what other people were going through. I can't control my dreams. That's what came through in my dream. So like that's how she felt. And so of course, like Courtney was like, what the shit? Like, why would you be in the Nazi party? And then she was like, I didn't know. And I'm like, understandable. That's out for that time. Like, I get it. Like, it's not like people were posting cell phone things to Instagram. Like, you believed what was in the newspapers. So yeah. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned that, and that J. Manuel had asked a question along that line. He said, Miss Courtney and young man, which I still find hilarious. Quick
That's so
question:
cute.
do you believe the universe creates evil people as it does positive people, or do we manifest it with each other?
There are so many layers to that question. Let's do the easiest layer first. Let's do the very easy layer, which is as far as manifesting it with each other. Oh God, there's so
There
many layers
is.
to this question. Okay, easiest layer. Let's just go with perception. Let's do that first. Like I think that sometimes people think like those people that accuse me of being a lizard, that was them.
It's
Like I'm
definitely
not a
them.
lizard. Okay? Yeah, so that was them. Like they now that's not necessarily manifestation, that's perception, but if they're perceiving it to the point where they think it's real, they've created a real
Mhm.
scenario even though it's not real. In their minds, it is. So that's one level. The second level is, well, can we actually manifest things? So let's say there are two people. One of them is really, really nice, like actually a very nice person. And the other one is kind of a shithead and like cutting to the nice person. And will say to the nice person, like, oh, you're not that nice. You're not that nice. You're not that nice. And just keeps being cutting to the actually nice person. Eventually, that actually nice person is going to be like, shut the fuck up. I'm so tired of you. Get out of my life. I never want to see you again. Right. So that's an example of actually manifesting that the nice person really did become an asshole. Now it was temporary and justified, try to not, but like understandable. It's temporary, it's understandable, but that person was an asshole for a little bit. So the cutting person did actually turn the nice person into what the cutting person said that they were. Okay, so that's another layer. Then there's the soul contract layer where it's like, okay, well, do we manifest these things because on a soul contract level, somebody goes, I want to be murdered. And the other person goes, I want to murder. Like, I haven't done that yet in a lifetime. And the person's like, great. Do you want to be my murderer? Because I haven't been murdered yet and you haven't murdered yet. So, like, we could just partner on this, right? So, there's the soul contract level of manifesting. I do believe in free will, by the way. So, I don't think that like all stuff has to play out based on soul contracts. I think we have options. And then, okay, so then we have like big picture universe. Like, is the universe just like willy nilly popping out baddies and goodies, right? Like, if the universe is like basically creating sports teams, right? So I don't know that that's necessarily what happens. What I have seen, this is a whole story. But when I took mushrooms, I heard bad chattering. It was clearly like bad chattering in the external environment. Now, this is early in my journey. This is back, or not, it's not that early. It's in like 2020. It was like 5 years ago, but it's earlier. I evolve every year. And so it's earlier in my journey. And at that point, I still thought that like you only tune into the frequencies at which you are. So I got really nervous that I was tuning into bad chatter. I was like, does that mean I'm bad? I don't think that anymore. I think that like just like you can turn the dial on a radio station, you can hear things. That doesn't mean that you're an opera singer. Oh, now you're a country music star. Oh, no, you can tune into different things. It's fine. So, but I did do a little bit of a deep dive where I was like, shit, universe, like what's going on? I heard this. Does that mean I'm bad? I don't want to be bad. And if I'm bad by accident, I need to know it. And the universe was like, no. And then it said, but you do sometimes play for the bad team. Some souls do that. And I said, well, why would I play for the bad team sometimes? And then it said, well, because the bad team is actually really helpful for the good team, because if the bad team ups their game, then it inspires and forces the good team to up their game. So it is very helpful forced evolution, right? Like the good team's not just going to stay plateaued, it will keep evolving because the bad team is forcing its evolution. So you can see a clear silver lining there where like there's more advancement of the good if the bad pushes in that direction. And then the universe said, and so Courtney, the bad team, like, is actually very purposeful. And then sometimes you play on the bad team because then you can get the inside information about their, playbook. And then you can, as a spy, take that over to the good team because you got all this inside information. Plus, when you defect back to the good team, other bad teammates who were hoping to defect to the good team will follow you because they're like, oh, like we have an opportunity to leave now. Like, let's just go with her. Like, we don't have to be the one that breaks rank. We'll just like follow her lead. So that's fine. So that's what I learned as well.
All those things fit in. They definitely fit in.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. We're going to wrap up in just a second. Let's see what else is in the comments.
I think that was the last major one.
Oh, are you sad today, Aaron?
No, I am not. I'm a little tired, but not sad. But
okay, he picks up on stuff really well. Yeah. Okay, so you're tired. Oh, I hope you get good rest. How long have you not been sleeping well?
I would say I haven't been sleeping well.
Why else would you be tired?
Because I had a long day. No, it's
Oh, Jamie, he might be a little sad.
and I'm hungry too.
okay. Oh, funny. Okay, so I think we're vibing. I definitely just started to feel like my energy reserves start to deplete, but in a low calorie kind of way. I'm like, tough nuts. We're not eating. Like, you get to eat again tomorrow, Courtney. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm starting to like restore now that I understand where it's coming from. I mentioned to them, I don't think I did in front of you, but I did mention to them the other day that the high school sweetheart, first love, like he reached out a few days ago, and I asked him, I was like, because he had a dream about me. And so I asked him, I was like, when did you have the dream? This is what's really weird. I started not sleeping well almost around that exact same time. And I'm a good sleeper. Like, I'm one of those people that I'm like, okay, crushed the day, did a bunch of shit, got a lot done, probably exercise, I'm asleep within a couple, it's good life. Go to sleep in a couple of minutes. Like, 4 days or so, maybe 3 days or so before he contacted me, like I was just laying in bed and I'm like, what is this? And I was like, I don't even think I'm thinking. Cause you know how like sometimes I'm like, but I don't even, why am I awake? Like, that's so weird. And it happened the next time. I was like, is this a thing now? But like, I never really got nervous about it because I know as soon as people start to get anxiety about the insomnia, then they're really like, they're in a little bit of trouble because now you've brought stress and anticipation into it. And so luckily I was just like, this is weird. I was like, universe, if I could go to sleep soon, that would be great. And like, this went on for like sometimes an hour, sometimes for 2 hours. Like, super weird. And then one time I did say, because again, I wasn't really thinking. So I was like, I don't even know what this is. And so I just said to the universe, I was like, hey, if you could just protect me, like, could you shield me from like whatever this is? Fell asleep. I think I've been sleeping well ever since. I say that because as I was having my like Zoom catch up call with the high school sweetheart, and I don't know how sleep ended up, probably because of the dream, but sleep ended up coming up, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a really terrible sleeper." I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "When did you have this dream?" And he was like, "Oh, like a few nights before." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I think I was energetically already starting to get in tune with him. And the reason that I think that that's actually very realistic is I learned throughout the course of my hypnotherapy career that I would start to take on the symptoms. It would be sometimes the night before, usually the day of, but I would start to take on the symptoms of the client. And people might go, oh, sorry, maybe people will not say this because they don't know this, that I used to do this. I would have clients fill out a client intake form. And so I would ask them a bunch of questions prior to the session where I would say, what physical things, what emotional things, what have you been dealing with and what are your goals for the session? Now, I on purpose would not read the client intake form any more than like an hour before their session. I made the mistake of reading one too soon before a session, and I accidentally referred to client A's information in client B session. Bad form. And I was like, okay, like I will never read these in advance because sometimes your brain just like darts to something that you read and it's for the wrong person. Not good. Right. So because of that reason, I on purpose would not read the forms until an hour before because I know I can't like accidentally screw up in that way ever again. And what became very interesting is because I didn't have any exposure to that person's information yet, I would have these weird symptoms coming up. Like one time I think I got like, I don't know if it was a rash on my arm or like a pain. There was a very specific localized, like right in here, it was either a rash or a pain. And it happens either the night before leading up to it or it happens the day of. And it also goes away as soon as the session is over. Because I would even tell people, I was like, oh, yeah, like, see this? Like, this is from you. And the same reaction every time by everybody. They're always like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no. As soon as the session is done and you leave, this goes away. Like, it stops. I was like, don't even apologize. And so it took me a while where I was like, why is that happening? And I realized it's because I can be a better teammate to these clients if I'm vibing like really in sync with them. Right. And so sometimes there are going to be physical manifestations that come up as a result of getting that vibrational match going. And so I think with the high school sweetheart, that's like on a soul level, because that's anybody who's read my book, like that's a teammate. Like he's a really good teammate. I have a car accident and like who's the guy who like comes and gets me like in his warm car out of the freezing January mountain wet, like he's a good teammate, right? And so I got to be a few days ago, got to be a really good teammate, like back for him. And like throughout the course of the conversation, I was like, oh, I synced up. Like I started to lock in. And that's why I wasn't sleeping those nights. But I'm okay now. Yeah. Sleep is good. So that's why when I said like, oh, why aren't you getting sleep? It's on my brain. But yeah, guys, you can just ask to be protected from like whatever's keeping you awake and it'll probably work. Oh my Lord. More comments.
I have to remember that too.
Anything else? Yeah. Psychology is soft. Yeah, they've got, you know what? I was about to say psychology's got a long way to go. I don't think they're ever going to get there. If they don't bring spirituality into it, I don't think they have a chance of succeeding really.
I agree.
So they've lost before they've even begun. Oh no. Okay. Lightning. Yeah, severe emotions can definitely create a lot of physical side effects. A box of kittens is good for insomnia. Unless it's my kitten. And then that little bastard will attack you while you sleep. So, all right, on that note. Okay, I love that Goth likes cats. That's so great. Okay, Aaron,
No, I think
else?
we covered it all.
As always. Remember, I was like, I don't read books, but I know we can fill the hour. Done and done. I don't read books. I just talk about books. I don't have time to read. I'm too busy doing this. Oh my God. Okay. So speaking of books, good segue. Speaking of books, oh, Aaron, it's a good animal. Like, I mean, they're all good, but like, it's a good animal tonight. It's the lion.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, that's cool as shit. Yeah, and then also it's my birthday number. So it's page 225 and 226. My birthday is June 22nd. So we got some Courtney energy in there too. Plus, remember I told you that I would tune into my alien family and that they were more aware of my emotions than I was of their emotions, and that I should be like more mindful of like how angry, etc. I was. And as part of that, and there's so many things in hypnosis sessions that really don't make sense, but are still really effective. Like I'm about to say something that's super effective, but anybody in the right mind would go, why did that work? I don't know. It did. And so there is this place in the spirit realm that I was shown. And it's just like if you were hovering in black space. It's not like I don't know anything about it other than it's just a place in the spirit realm, like if you're hovering in black space. And there's this really big protective lion, and my little alien self will lay on it, kind of like a little kid would a dog, and just like lay on it and rest his head on it and like kind of hug it and just lay there peacefully. And they just, just oxytocin city. Like it's just so sweet. And I think it was probably during that session where they were like, hey, Courtney, like he can feel your energy. You're kind of angry. Yeah, maybe rein it in a little bit. And also remember, Courtney, you can tune into his energy if you ever want to bring some of that like gentleness into your way of being. And like, I'm pretty sure it was during that session that I saw how he was like with the lion. And they were like, that you have that lion too. Like, that's not just his lion. That's like our lion. You can also like connect in and be with that and like cuddle in that same very, like you're protected and you're safe. And it's also very like loving and sweet and gentle at the same time. So anytime I think of a lion spirit animal, I'm like, it's just like a big cuddly protector. It's like the best. Something that can rip your enemy's head off and you can spoon. Yes. Yes.
Works for me.
Right? Okay. All right. Are we all done with the comments? I think we are. Oh, there are more. I really bungled that. There were so many more. Yeah, they do have big platforms. Okay. Yes, 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 yes. That seems like a short. Yeah. Mondays are so fast. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So Goth seconds that religions make stupid rules to protect themselves for sure. Being human is a punishment. It feels like God understands that one too well. That one hit close to home. I think it just depends. I think it just depends on like I have a friend, and she works hard. Like she's a hard worker. She's an elementary school teacher. She did one of those programs in college where you could get your bachelor's and master's at the same time. So she became an elementary school teacher when she was crazy young, like 22. Like normally you're going to start when you're more like 24. So she started when she was 22, which means she had 20 years in already by the age of 42. And she's a year older than me. So she's about to be 47. So she just hit 25 years of teaching. Those are some adult numbers. So she's worked really hard. And I say all that because I still think that she's kind of having a vacation lifetime. Like she's just really smart. So that came easily to her. She's really pretty. That came easily to her. She has a husband who loves her very much. That came mostly easily to her. She had an engagement that didn't take with another person. So, but she eventually got there. She has 4 beautiful kids. So that came very easily to her. And she's going to be able to retire at 47 because the whole teaching thing happened for her so young and just locked right in. I think she maybe taught at like one school for like a year before she found the school where she and I met. So she's even been at the same school. So she locked that in. So that was very easy for her. And I'm just like, even though like she's a hard worker, obviously, it's still like a pretty chill lifetime. Like she worked this one out. And so I think it just depends on the lifetime. And then same thing for animals. Like sometimes animals get like the rawest of deals. And then other times, jealous. I want to lay in a hammock and be, it's just God, man, some of these animals have got it really, really good. I'm happy for them. Okay. All right. I have to pee big time. Aaron, are you going to make it to the lion hypnosis session? Good. Then we're going to get you into sleep. All right. Love you guys very, very much. We're going to log off of this meeting. Give me a couple of minutes to pee. Then we're going to come back and then we're going to be with the lion and it is going to be so great. All right. Love you guys. And again, Aaron, you're here next Monday? Wait, am I here next Monday? Yes, I'm here next Monday, but I will not be here the Monday after that. But they know that. So guys, I will put out the schedule soon. where, because I'm going to be traveling August 1 through August 9, I'm going to do all of those animal sessions on Saturday, July 26th and Sunday, July 27th. And I'll put the schedule up soon so that we'll just boom, like have an amazing hypnosis weekend just to cover all of those animals. So we'll just start on August 10th back at what August 10th's animal was supposed to be. But we will miss the Monday live for whatever that Monday is. I don't know what the date is. It might be like August 2nd. I feel like it's more like August 4th, but you looking?
My battery died. Okay.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I can look. So Monday, yeah, it is. It's August 4th. August 4th. We will not be doing a live because I will be meditating my little ass off. Technical term.